Yeah, the skull head looks really good there.
Okay, good. Uh,
Where'd you get it?
I don't remember. I've had it for a while.
Huh.
Sort of a Raptor Canyon motif. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah, yeah.
jump right in because that actually, I have to say one thing, Mr. Andy Baldwin, you are tenacious. You you are the first person to be a finalist 3 years in a row. There was someone
Wow.
before you, Scott Slater was a finalist 2 years in a row. You've been a finalist 3 years in a row. We've had a lot of people who've entered 5 or 6 times, but what do you think that says about your talent?
Well, I don't know. I guess it just says the reviewers like what I'm writing, so I'm glad for that.
Yeah, there's a wonderful ease to reading an A.W. Baldwin novel that slowly sucks you in and takes you away to obviously a very interesting place like the Canyonlands. What is it that really drives you to write about that?
Well, I've loved canoeing uh, for all my life, and I got to do a trip many years ago on the Green River, just above Canyonlands, and a multi-day trip, and just fell in love with it. And so I try to go back at least once a year and do the canoe trips are my favorite because you're just all by yourself and you go where you want to go when you want to
Yeah.
go, and it's amazing country, and you can paddle up those. In the spring, when the water's high, you can paddle up the canyons a little bit. When the water's down, you got sandbars all over the place. Anytime you want to camp, you just pull over, and you've seen some of the scenery. You've seen some of my photographs, which are not because I'm a photographer, but because the place is so beautiful. You
Yeah.
just kind of can't hardly take a bad picture out there.
Haley, I believe, is the first female star of your books.
Yeah, I have my daughter to thank for that. She said, "When is there going to be a uh, female protagonist?" You know, she and her daughters have been wondering, and I thought, yeah, it's past time, past due.
Yeah. Did you find
Yeah.
any difficulty? Because I know all us writers, you can, like being guys that you and I are, we can write about that experience. But did you find it difficult writing about from a female point of view? And, was there any challenges in that?
Yeah, to some extent, I was a little nervous about it, but I have some good. I have a good support team. My wife and my daughter uh, read it and gave me pointers, good ideas, and so that
Yeah.
was important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Always good to listen to the experts.
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away about the plot because people really have to read Broken In, but um, it starts off pretty quick. And once the crime is witnessed, the tension never really lets up because you, like Haley, are wondering what's going on and why isn't anyone doing what they're supposed to do? And she's,
Right.
yeah, she has a lot to deal with. And even Ash, her sidekick there for a little bit, even Ash seems reluctant to get involved, but she seems to be kind of a forceful personality, and she makes people work for her. Did you design anyone like after that, or is she a complete fabrication?
Oh, I guess she's a conglomeration, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, she's sort of a force of nature. Once she has to kind of get over some uncharacteristic lethargy and depression, not at a clinical level, but her mother had passed away from COVID, and she was dealing with that and trying to finish up her degree and figure out what she's going to do. And so she was a little rudderless. Um, but once she got out there and these events happened, she kind of returned or started to return to her more healthy, more normal personality type, and really went after it.
She seems very, very human, and the things that she worries about are the things that we all worry about. Again,
Yeah.
was that planned, or did you, do you naturally just say, I'm not going to write about superhumans, even though they may not be technically super?
I'm more interested in what I guess I hate to say normal people, but real people would do in these situations that they're put in than I am in having, as you say, a Superman with
Right.
you know, some sort of army combat fighting skills who just fights their way through to the end. I'm more interested in what a real person would have to do and go through in a situation like this. How would they behave? How would they resolve it?
One of the things I think you do better than any other writer is throw a little real artistic prose into describing what this place looks like without dragging the description into 400 pages.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I've read some. We've all read beautiful writing that we think could have stopped about 5 pages earlier. Uh,
Yeah.
it can be beautiful. It's a lot of talent on the page, and you enjoy it for that. But yeah, getting the right blend is the right balance, the right amount is always a challenge, I think.
Now, do you come at that point? Do you get to that point because you think about it and you plot and you might even outline, or is it a natural occurrence because you're just brilliant?
There've been very few people who've accused me of that. Uh, uh, yeah, seat of the pants and rewrites.
Uh-huh.
You go back and you go, whoa, this is way too much of one
Right.
thing or another, just
Right.
slash and burn. So
Yeah.
a
Are
lot
you a
of
believer in that? In the, like there's the school of write it really big and then chop, 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 or do you wish that you could? No, I'd rather just have it right the first time, which of course isn't possible.
yeah, that's really not possible. I just sort of I tend to just write it as depending on what's in my mind and what's in my mood at that moment. And I know I've got to go back and slash and burn. And the other trick is to if you write you might write a paragraph that you really like, and you feel a little bit of pride. You think, oh, that turned out really well. And 2 months later, you're going back through these pieces, and you think, why in the world is that there?
Yeah.
And you just have to be willing to slash and burn your own stuff
Yeah.
because that sort of false pride of ownership or whatever it is that might make you leave it in. You can't have that. It's just got to go out when
Yeah.
it's got to go out.
If you were going to talk about all the books that you've written, do you feel that you've grown as a writer from the first one to this last one? I mean, can you kind of walk me through how you felt about each of those books?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, you just have to keep, yeah, to get better, you just have to keep doing it. It's a skill. It's a definition of a skill. It's something you get better at with practice.
Right.
Desert Guardian took me a long time. Of course, I was a lot busier in my work career at that time. Um, but it took a long time to finish. Um, Raptor Canyon just sort of almost came out of nowhere. It took me, a year, and it seemed fast. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed like it just, I had these sort of ideas, and they fit together all right, and it went pretty fast. Wings was sort of the same way. I think I struggled a little bit more over a couple of minor plot points with Wings, but
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty fast. Um, Diamonds was different. I wanted to do something with uh, more characters, and that I know I've had other writers and people say don't do more characters. It's confusing to the reader.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of wanted this raft full of characters in this whitewater rafting trip, all scurrying with varying degrees of interest and greed or non-greed for these diamonds, and to see how they interacted. So that was Diamonds was more complex for me because of that. How do all these characters interact, and what do they do, and how does it move the plot forward or sideways? Um, uh, and then Broken In, gosh, I think I had the beginning and the ending in a pretty fast period of time, and then the middle just came to me, as I thought about it and worked it out. So every one of them has been different, both in the story and then the process a little bit different.
Mhm.
Um, I've tried outlining. I've done outlining. Sometimes it's helpful to remind myself of something I want to do, but um, I, I I I don't write an outline and then stick to it.
Right, right.
And in fact, I barely write an outline. Other part, sometimes I'll sit down and write ideas, and 3 days later I throw them away. And
Right.
it works better for me if it's in my head, because you have to visualize everything, right? I
Right.
mean, you have,
Right.
you have to put yourself in that position where the character, whoever your point of view is, what's happening to them, and uh, you just can't outline that.
Is there
Yeah.
any question I didn't ask you that you wanted me to ask you for this interview?
I love that question. It's a lot like the question lawyers ask at depositions. Is there anything that you were afraid I was going to ask you that I didn't ask you?
And hopefully you're smart enough to keep your mouth shut,
Oh, we'll see if the guy who's being interviewed
Yeah.
spills the beans or not.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you and all the hard work and the good work you've done for me and all the competitors. Really, really appreciate you, Peter,
Right.
personally, and have somebody of your talent on this team, and is really wonderful.